It was a noodle. He's like, it's a noodle. And I was playing a noodle, and I was like, all right. I was like, it's like, it's
Case closed. I want you to understand how important this moment was and how high the stakes were. There was nothing at stake. These are
You're grading every single scenario around the green based off a short-sighted pin.
for the listening audience. JP is now holding a phone in the middle of the frame and circling it with his finger.
All right, we're good.
Today, I am ready. I already said that. Take the
Okay.
first one.
5, 4, 3.
3.
Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, that lettuce. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, that lettuce, focused all on the check. Yeah, all I want is lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce.
Lettuce heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast, as teased in 2024. Mr. Golfberg, we've been talking about we're gonna amp things up a little.
Yep.
We're gonna put our money where our mouth is. We're gonna
doing
bring
it.
on some special guests to challenge us on some of our takes. We've been tough on caddies. There's been a lot of caddy discourse out there, but we've been pretty tough. I think fair, but we have some real world experiences. I think you dubbed Aaron Hills a caddy scam. We're probably banned from going back to Aaron Hills.
Yeah.
You've probably been the toughest of the group. I personally think I've been the most nuanced. That's just it's a personal take. I've had positive caddy experiences. I've had negative caddy experiences, but I felt like we needed to dive into this topic. But to hold us accountable, we needed to bring somebody in. Had to hip check us a little, right? So what if I told you I got a guy who's been a caddy at one of these top 100 public resort golf courses where you just have tons of issues with the caddies out there? What if
That's
I
my
told
number
you,
one issue.
What if I told you this guy also, he's living a little bit of C-Sweetie jupe life right now, maybe at the private clubs, looping a little bit on the side. And if that's not good enough, he also happens to be a professional looper on the Korn Ferry Tour, coming in, spending an hour with us, Mr. JP Burke. JP the Caddy, welcome. Say hello to the lettuce heads.
Come on, lettuce
Yeah.
heads. Thank you for having me on.
No, so all joking aside, you're a busy man right now, so you're coming off.
Yeah, we got a full hour. That's impressive.
Well, I said that, I just assumed, but you're coming out. You're in the Bahamas right now, right? You just finished. You got a solo third last week. You're prepping for next week, but of course the priority is come defend your brethren here against the Please Let Us Golf crew and some caddy discourse. But all that being said, thanks for real for coming on, man. So how's it going? How's the Bahamas? Welcome to the program. What are we doing tonight?
Yeah, no, the Bahamas have been great. We were in Nassau last week, and yeah, I was caddying for Davis Shore, who I've been with for about the past 5 tournaments. We had both of our best finishes ever on Korn Ferry. Now we've made it to Abaco, just the next island down for the next tournament. Getting ready to go for the Abaco Club, but no, year two.
Five tourneys, not a lot. Like, you're just getting to know this guy.
Yeah, just getting to know this guy. I met him 3 years ago at a Latin America tournament, and we've just been good buddies throughout the seasons.
That makes sense.
But worked my first event with him was in Columbus last season, so the second to last tournament. I was filling in for his caddy who qualified for the U.S. Mid-Am. Corby Siegel, who awesome caddy in his own right. He's caddied 25 years PGA Tour, and filled in for him. We saved the season. He kept his car. We was 83rd before in the standings before that tournament. We finished 15th, so that got him to 70th, which kept his Korn Ferry card. Got it for the full season. He decided to go with Corby for the Tour Championship, but then right after the Tour Championship, he parted ways with him and asked me to be his caddy.
But if I will, and hold your train of thought, you just enlightened me to a whole other caddy problem I was completely unaware of. So you could be a player, you've got your caddy, just rocking and rolling for a year now. Out of nowhere, your caddy might just qualify for the friggin' tournament and beat your ass.
Yeah,
It's like you're
That's
just never
actually
safe.
that's a Aaron. That is a amazing segue into my first question of JP. So there's variance in the caddy game, right? So we're going to focus a little bit on that amateur piece of the caddy world that gives Mr. Golfberg and I some heartburn. But we know some caddies were sticks, some hardly played at all. What is your background with golf, and how did you get into being a caddy at any level?
Yeah, mine's the latter. I barely play. I've played 5 rounds of golf in the past year.
What?
Yeah, I grew up on a golf course, and my best friend growing up, he played golf, but not until late. He didn't start playing until 8th grade. But like growing up, we would go like golf and tennis camp. It was just like, for basically for our parents to just get us out of the
I didn't mean to
house.
laugh at you when you just said golf and tennis camp. I was like, God, I was worried about my questions being a little bit too,
Oh, no.
too chat GPT. But man, coming up straight out with golf and tennis camp, I get it.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was like I grew up around the game. I grew up on a course, but football and basketball, baseball, those were always the sports I played. And then my best bud started playing 8th grade. He immediately, like within a year, he was going to state championship freshman year of high school. He won solo states senior year. The team won states junior and senior year. He was Mr. Florida senior year of high school.
Jeez.
That's like the Greg Norman story. You hear how he became scratch in like the first year of picking up the game.
It's in his blood. Like his dad was like a Hall of Famer at Roanoke College, so it's just like a Division II school. So it was like as soon as he started playing, he was just awesome.
Just on.
That's great.
So like we always we would always just go in the backyard, play 3 or 4 holes a day. I grew up with the game, was insane on Tiger Woods PGA Tour, the video game.
Oh yeah, you got that. You got to be tapping that spin.
Oh yeah, side spin. Yeah, it was like 53 at Bay Hill when I was 10 years old.
So how much does Tiger Woods PGA Tour come into actual professional caddying now? Or you're just like, yeah, I mean, dude, I see the green and the same Tiger vision. It's just locked in.
We laugh, but on tour all last year, I brought Tiger. Now it's EA Sports PGA Tour, but we would play that every night all together. Like our goal was try to break 50 at Chambers Bay and Tara Edie.
You guys are doing it before Bryson, man. Just you guys were the front runners on that.
But like that game, it is the same sort of talk track that we have before every shot too. It's like we're reading the live. It's the same exact thing. So it's like you laugh at it. Like,
I don't know if you're selling.
I'm not laughing.
I don't know if you're selling Mr. Golfberg on the caddy experience yet.
Yeah, no, it's in terms of like tour caddying, it's pretty similar, weirdly enough. But back to like so my buddy
that's fascinating.
My buddy goes to UNC for golf, and he ends up being teammates with Ben Griffin, Ryan Gerard, who are both on tour now. And I would go up there once a year to go hang out with them. Never golf related, just partying basically. And then once we graduated, I worked in finance at Merrill Lynch for a year and a half. I did software sales for 2 years and then property management for a year. And all throughout that time, my buddy who was on Forum Tour originally and then Latin America Tour, he was like, all right, take 1 week of vacation each year, pick the spot you want to go to and come caddy for me. So the first one was Guadalajara, Mexico. The next one was Bogota. And we finished second in each of those. And once he qualified for the Korn Ferry, I was like, one of my old bosses who was like, hey, congrats to Austin. Are we expecting to see like on his bag next year for Korn Ferry? And I just kind of played it off. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be fun, but never really gave it any thought. And he's like, if you're not seriously considering this, you need to call me right now. And this is like a boss I hadn't talked to since I told him I was leaving the company. Called him in the middle of the workday, 7-minute phone call. And he was like, dude, you have the personality for it, the temperament, like you come from athletic background.
He was a golfer?
Like, oh yeah. He
gets it.
Yeah. He grew up with Bobby Clampett's son. and just grew up around the game. He's a good
Listen,
golfer
kid,
himself.
you don't want to do this shit. Get out while you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You kidding me? Look at me.
He was like, just go do it, dude. So after that phone call, I texted my buddy Austin. I was like, hey, I'd like to put my name in the hat to be your caddy. He's like, for real? Like, yeah, sweet. So we did that. We did a couple Canadian events together, and then all of a sudden it was the off season. So that's when I started working at Chambers Bay. Not even as a caddy, I was on the turf crew there. I was so greenskeeper. Yeah. Oh, wow. Did that for 3 months, and then the first tournament I worked like full time was Q School last year, final stage of Q School. So yeah, I didn't come from competitive golf background, but
those first 2 tournaments you did, you got second place in. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's got to be like a drug in a way, right? Like an addiction of like a rush at that point.
Are you? So in that moment, you just started. This kid's obviously playing great golf. Are you feeling like you're adding a lot of value, or just kind of slotting in and kind of giving them what they need? What are you doing?
That's always the question for like tour caddies, because it's completely different. Club caddying and tour caddying is completely different. And when your player does really well, you think, dang, I'm the best caddy in the world. And then your player starts doing poorly and you're the worst. But it's like, there's
it's not my fault.
No, you're like, what am I doing wrong?
I'm telling them what to do. I told you the yardage, man. How do I?
For these guys, it's like there's like in pro golf, they're like, if you're a great caddy with a bad player, he'll still be a bad player. If you're a bad caddy with a great player, he'll still be a great player. A good caddy and a good player, that's a great team. So it's like, I had influence on him in the sense of we were chilling the whole time on the course. Like he doesn't feel like it's all of a sudden, man, we're in a heat of a tournament. We're talking about random memories in between shots. We're laughing about, the other caddies in the group or something. We're hanging out. So
no, that's because when I was thinking earlier today about what are the things I actually like and respect about caddies, and I'm part is this shtick. I'm obviously screwing around because I've
breaking the fourth wall.
No, I'm adamant that I respect the caddy game in the professional world. I get it. Or we're talking the caddy.
I'm going to ride for you there. You've been vocal of that dividing line. That this was specific to the resort caddy scam, not the the professional caddy.
But, Andrew and I, we played in a little bit of tournaments, and I'm like a 3 handicap, so it's not. But you take it seriously, right? And you never feel so alone than when you're in the middle of a tournament and you don't have a caddy. You're just, You're just like, oh my God, and there's so much to do. And if it's a course you don't really know, you can just literally. Your whole tournament can kind of fall apart on disorganization. It's kind of happened to me a couple of times. Just I didn't have enough time to read the yardage, and then you start getting anxious, and you maybe drop something, and I can't find my glove, and it's just like so. Not to be, but like I totally just having someone with you to be like, bro.
Aaron's the king of not being able to find his glove, though, so that is a problem.
And I didn't mean to dumb it down to that level. It's
no,
everything.
I know, no, it is.
No, yeah. I like 70% of tour caddying is being like a professional best friend. It's no coincidence like when a wife randomly makes appearance on the bag, sometimes the player does really well, or like a friend comes out like I did for my buddy in Latin America and he does really well. It's like it is that sort of just environment you create for them on the course of like, shoot, I'm finally having fun again on the course, as opposed to like, this is my job, this is a lot of pressure, if I don't do well here, I'm no longer going to have my card anymore. Like creating that environment of this is us in the backyard growing up, but I'm just an elite golfer, and get them out of their own way.
So I definitely, that's why I wanted it to be the open forum, because it's sparking a lot of questions. So from your experience of like your fellow caddies out there, is your path common to where there's like a lot of people that it's like, hey, I'm not really, I don't have tons of caddying experience, but I just kind of started through, I wouldn't say through happenstance, but through some kind of connection, through some kind of serendipitous event occurs, or is it like, oh, there's people who've been caddying for X amount of time and then they find their way onto a pro's bag?
my way is very common. And it's
because it's a job, right?
yeah, it's a
also
job.
like,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of guys that were, former pros themselves that just didn't make it, but they don't want to leave the game, so they start caddying. That's like, 25% of them.
Yeah, that I get.
There's another 25% that was like, oh yeah, I coached high school golf. I did that for 10 years and wanted to try this out. Like there's the whole coaches turn caddy. Then there's like kind of the whole other half where it's just like they were club caddies, or they were, there's guys that come from like the chef world and stuff, just working odd jobs.
Because it does make it, and I keep teasing out to get to some of my main event topics here and stories, but because it is in a way, and please disagree 100% if this is not accurate, but it's almost like, again, these resort caddies, right? Is that really training you for what you need to be proficient in when you're looping for a bunch of 17 handicappers that are just, going through the motions of it? It's outside of learning how to like physically be capable of doing it. I don't feel like you're technically really developing a skill you would need out there.
No, they're two completely different paths. It's the club caddy is more, you're the liaison between the clubhouse and the course. You are supposed to be just hospitality mostly, giving them a good, when you come to Chambers Bay, hey, you just traveled from out of state to come here, bare minimum you should be enjoying your round, because like you were saying, Aaron, you feel alone out there. Like, you start getting in a rut and it's just like, what the heck? It's like, you're supposed to just be a best friend to them. You're supposed to ask about their life, ask about their world a little bit. Oh, where do you come from? Well, and just create a solid environment for them. And then icing on the cake is giving them some decent reads and stuff if you can. But that's where I kind of like draw the line of these guys who are giving you guys reads. You guys are much better golfers than them. Like a lot of the club caddies don't golf that much. And like at Chambers Bay, I know a good amount of them. They don't golf. Like they're in the service world. They are hoping, they're carrying your bag. They're hoping you guys have a fun time. And then on top of that, they're trying to give you a read, and it might be wrong.
So back in that caddy barn, when there's like a request from a guy that's like, hey, I'm coming out with my group. We're like a couple ex-college golfers, some scratches and pluses. We want good caddies. Are the caddies back there just like, is that just getting bundled up and thrown away in the trash? Is everyone rolling their eyes in the background? Just give us the behind the scenes of what's really going on.
There's not much. Chambers is not a behind the scenes. They use an app for their caddies, so you don't have to wait at all. You just get a notification on your phone saying, "Hey,
this is what it is.
You got a loop. Show up in an hour."
It's probably seniority then, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's guys that have been there since the opening, and those guys will get one every day.
Well, and that's the point. In theory, yeah, it's not like a real caddy. It's the opposite of real caddying. Is about knowing your player, developing a relationship.
Yeah,
this is like, exactly. I know the course. You're here, so hopefully I can tell you some shit about the course so that you can manage it a little better.
Exactly. Like I don't really like that facade of like, oh yeah, this caddy that you just met 30 minutes ago is going to, first time meeting you, going to give you a perfect.
I think this is really important. Yeah. No, this is actually, because it's like, you're right. Like break down the definition of what we're trying to do here a little bit. Cause it would, it would make it more comfortable.
I mean, cause it's a known thing for us on tour. It's like, there's a feel out like, oh, you're not going to get fired after week one, unless you're just a dread to be around. Like they like the
when that one guy gave Shooter McGavin his wedge when he wanted a 5-iron and he got fired immediately. Do you remember that?
Total.
See, so if you do that, but I hear you. For the most part, you'll get it.
Hey, while we're on movies, I'm sorry, JP. I know I trust you that you can maintain that thought. I don't want to forget saying, Aaron might subconsciously have such an issue with caddies that he doesn't even like Caddyshack as a movie. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the record. So that's.
But I really like you, JP. So we're
appreciate it. It's Caddyshack's great the first 5 times, but after you've seen it, 30 times, it can get annoying.
Yeah, it's the moments live on, but the movie's actually not that good.
It's no tin cup.
But yeah, like on tour, it's like the player gives you that allowance of, as long as you hit the main requirements. There's a 2 to 3 week period of like, hey, you're learning my game right now. You're learning how I do. You're learning my misses. You're learning my tendencies.
And that's not a lot of time either. Even though,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but we have, we do practice rounds every day. It's like
And you're talking things through.
Yeah,
You're like
if you-
16 rounds deep by then.
Yeah, if you make the cut in a week, you're playing over 100 holes with them. So it's like you get 3 weeks of that. That's a good enough of a sample size. But I don't get nervous caddying out here. I get nervous club caddying because of that, where it's like, all right, you're focused on getting to know the person, being personable and having fun. 2, especially if you're caddying for a bunch of ladies, they have a bunch of club head covers and stuff coming on and off. It's like you're just.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Nightmare
So
scenario.
Like, so then at like, let's say Chambers, you're doing your double bagging. You're telling me this guy who finally has a birdie putt, the one birdie putt he gets per round. Hey, let me get a good read on this one. Like, a good read? It's like, hey, every one of my reads, I'm trying to give you one, but I'm also doing them.
This one try really hard on though.
Yeah, it's like I got 1,000 other things. So I even that was a conversation I had earlier this week with one of the pros of like how bad of a service it is to be double bagging. Period. Like you're giving.
I have a bullet point here. I said, is double bagging the biggest scam in golf history? It's tough.
I think it is, because it's like the members don't want to pay a solid amount for one singular caddy, but like one singular caddy is the way it should be. Like the double bagging thing, you can be on the opposite ends of the fairway oftentimes, and then for reads on the green, it's like, come on, a solid read takes 30 to 45 seconds anyway. If I'm in whereas when you're trying to play a sub 4-hour round, 4.5-hour round, you're going to get half-assed reads if you're double bagging.
Let's pull the thread a little bit to get into this on the green specific. So, Mr. Golfberg, our resident lover of greens, golf logics, he wants the map, he wants the details, excellent putting stroke. If he just knew exactly where to hit it, he'd make every single one. I had a little issue because the first time I ever had a caddy, this is not a humble brag, but I've talked about it on this before, because Aaron and I, even though we're first cousins, but we did not see each other at all our whole life.
Is that a Georgia thing where you have to say first cousins?
Yeah, because cousins. Yeah, it is in the Southeast. Cousins, I don't know, because you get the second, third. I don't want to say
cousin.
Or do you mean first cousins, second, cousins first, friends second?
I wanted to say I thought it was dramatic because not only are we cousins, we're first cousins, and we still didn't see each other our entire lives. We live in completely different parts of the country. So our first time golfing, we went on a golf trip. Aaron was living out in California, and we went to Pebble Beach, and we had a caddy, and I was like, whoa, this guy is just pointing. It's very hard to read greens out there because there's subtle breaks, but you just can't pick up. It's one of those things I felt like you just would have to know. And he was just point to this spot. It's a 20% pace. It's a 120 pace, whatever his, method of saying speed wise. And it was just all day. Everything was perfect. And I was just like, man, if I had a caddy, I'd be playing off a +6. It would be that easy of a game. I have not had that experience ever again with a caddy, and that's kind of where we're pretty empathic people, and we care about I struggle with caddy sometimes because I find myself caring too much. I'm not being a douchebag for them, but then I get really pissed on the greens because. To your point, when you were at Chambers, I think people make an assumption of, well, this guy knows the greens inside out. So he's walking up to the ball. He doesn't even need to read it. He knows it's going right, left, slow, fast. And I do think at those resort courses, it's not, I don't know if that's an unreasonable expectation, but to me, that's where I would personally get the most benefit from a caddy is yeah, if it's a blind shot or there's just something you don't know, the line off the tee, of course. But clubbing, no, like you said, you don't know everything about my game and how I want to hit a shot.
Yeah.
But no-nos and being on the greens is kind of where the value comes in for me. Other than that, if you can't do that, then I struggle with the need for it.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. I feel like the easy way to filter that out is just ask them how long have they been at the course. It's like the guy at Pebble.
I feel like either these guys are lying to me or they're just I know if you're like at Bandon, there's a bunch of courses. So maybe you don't loop the same exact course. But if you tell me I've been doing it for 6 years and I caddy, I'm 6 days on, 4 days off. I'm like, well, just doing the math in my head. I'm like, dude, you've seen every pin, every putt, every approach. It really should be like that at that point. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a golf doucher.
I think you see a course enough times, you do know the reads. I mean, the other half of this Airbnb I'm in, there's 5 TPC Sawgrass caddies, and those guys on tour rarely read their players' putts. Like, it's like one of the guys doesn't read his putts. But then we were all just over there drinking beers and watching when Grant Horvat went to TPC and he took one of these guys out as a caddy. He's reading every single putt for him. He's getting every single putt right. It's like Grant Horvat's like, Luke, you are dialed, man. Like, this like inside out. And Luke was like, yeah, I've not on the video. He's talking, when we're just chilling. He's like, dude, I know every blade of grass out there. Where it's like on tour, he's not getting called in putts ever, and that's not a dig to him, but it's like the player. Yeah, it's a player preference thing. The player knows that he's seen this course max. If he's been there for 3 years, he's seen the course 12 times, maybe. But like this hole specifically, this read specifically, maybe once. So it's like, yeah, it's completely different. So if you meet a guy, like if you met me at Chambers, I have looped there 15 rounds, 20 rounds. So most of my reads are not guess. I mean, my best guess. I'm not gonna point to a spot and be like, look me in the eye. This is exactly where it's going. It's like, no, that's my read I'm giving it today. Like
my quick take on Chambers, since we're talking about it, is so I played it. I've only played it one time. It was last year now, I guess in March. And I thought it was really easy to manage without a caddy. Like the course is kind of right in front of you. I thought I was able to read the greens pretty well. Just for the record, because some of these, like Aaron Hills, it's like you just don't know what the hell is happening the entire time you're out there. So you need more than a caddy. But yeah, just that sort of take about when is it necessary, when isn't it?
You guys also seem like pretty emotionally stable folks.
Well, wait till we tell you the story.
I've always said it's like caddies are kind of like a lot of people's insurance policies of it's going to be a solid round. Like they might not play super well, but if they have me, I know they're not going to be throwing clubs. It's like they're going to at least enjoy their round at Chambers. I know that's not necessarily the same for all caddies. It's not across the board, but like that is like, I know if you got me, you're going to enjoy your experience there. Maybe you're not going to play the best round of golf you ever had in your life, but it's like,
I think you're hitting on something though, too. Like a lot of it, we've talked about this, a little bit of being introspective for a second. It is a little bit of a us problem too, the common skill level of golfer, whether you're at Bandon or Chambers or Aaron Hills or Sand Valley or Sawgrass, it's a double-digit handicapper. So I could see probably where the caddy in that regard can shave a handful of shots and make them feel good about what they're doing.
Just by giving them like a standard to like emotionally live up to, hey, don't be pouting in between every single shot, dude, or don't have this expectation that you're Tiger Woods. It's like that caddy can bring certain people back down to earth and be like, would you just enjoy yourself?
These people are idiots.
Because
they're golfers. We're all idiots. That's the whole
like
bit.
JP, obviously, like we're doing this with you right now. This is the first time we've met, and I feel like we could just talk about anything. It's like, right? So I think that's unique. You might have a gift for this, which is why you're doing well, right? You've now accelerated to a whole other thing. You could be on the PGA Tour one day. Who knows? Most of these guys are just, man. And then you're like, you go on these trips and you're with your best friends and your family. And then all of a sudden I've got these personalities with me. And then the second they fuck up, like we were on Old Mac, right? Second hole. And I'm right to the left of the sand trap on the right. And I know this shot, and I'll hit my lob wedge from there, but I will almost make it. That's just my game. And this guy just talked me out of it. He made me putt it. And it just took the wrong break. And now I have like a 12-footer and missed that. But I hated him for the rest of the trip.
Aaron ran back and it pitched it. He pitches it to, like 2 feet. And he's like, I fucking hate this guy.
That's true. Yeah, that's what did it. I went back and I'm like, all right. Because we're in like a tournament that they won't give me that concession. And
that's like the common trait of a bad caddy, though. That's
okay.
even out here, where it's like a little bit of that need of like, I'm the guy that knows the answer here. I'm the guy that if a player would only execute this shot that I had in mind, but it's like that's not what it's like. Your job is to help them get to a point of confidence. That's it, whether it's your idea or not.
So you hit the C word I had on here is confidence. That's been another critique I've had of the you can't hedge on me, right? Like it's my decision to make in the end. But like in that regard, if Aaron's got a wedge out and you don't like the wedge and it's the second hole you loop for him, you don't go up there and say you should be putting from off the green. You say
we're not from 150 yards out, we're around the green. Let the guy fucking chip it.
Now, in the caddy's defense, he is correct. It is not the proper shot to play. However, that is his shot and his go-to. Yeah. So you just tell him, hey, if you're hitting that shot, this is where you need to be landing it then, right? Like that's what I would assume your process would be, as opposed to going, yeah, I don't like that.
Exactly.
Like, well, fuck you then.
Yeah,
I should have had the balls to just be like, yo, I'm, but that's awkward too. So you're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah,
like argue with this guy.
Yeah, you're supposed to catch their wrong answers, not like provide your correct answer. It's like if this guy's confident with the wedge in his hand, let's help him out with the shot that is the proper shot for the 56 that he has in his hand, or the 60 or whatever bump and run you're going for.
But yeah, I don't know if we talked enough about it. Just the idea of like the personality injection into the trip. It's like, I don't know. And and now we're at this point where we like to film a lot, and we're very ridiculous people. With all of my friends, I have interactions on the golfers. I don't know that we need strangers around, like keeping track of all the stupid crap we're talking about and just our inside jokes and all that. And it's like, you just feel like you have the chaperone, and it even gets more awkward when you're like, I've decided I'm not going to have the caddy and your friends, but then one guy has a caddy. Then he doesn't even have a compatriot. Yeah. So Andrew, and then like the whole time Andrew's talking to this guy about his stupid, I'm like, just talk to us about it. He just wants to talk about how he shouldn't have hit a 9-iron, and maybe I should have, shit, man, I bladed that 9. I should have went for it with 8. I'm like, just tell us. What are you telling him for?
There's also this thing too. I know, like, let me get into a little bit of this Bandon story real quick. So we went 2 years in a row, and the first year I went, I had a caddy for most of the rounds. Had this guy. I'm not going to use names here.
No,
younger guy, but nice guy, and he was a good. Here's the thing: we went with a big group. We got invited. There's 24 guys in the group. So I'll just say this: over 2 years, I saw probably 12 different caddies, just because we were not all playing in the same group every time, right? I'll just straight up, there was maybe 2 caddies that I would say I would have been comfortable if they were my caddy. Luckily, one of them was the one I had. And then there's some that may have been fine, but it was a lot of like, I'm sitting there like, the guys, he's a 12 handicap in it's like 120-ish. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, he didn't even do anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? What about the fact that it was 44 degrees outside and you're, I guess, at sea level, and this guy's coming from the desert and he's got 7 layers on and it's blowing 27 across. And it's at 120. It's probably playing like it's too close. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe some people like general stuff. I like the firm directive, right?
Yeah.
But it's also batshit crazy out there when the elements. So it's like, how specific are you really going to get? I mean, there was a couple times where it's like you're just trying to make good contact and go. But I had this caddy year 1, and he was good. Year 2, we were like, hey, our group's not going to use any caddies. But then a couple of us, as we got closer, I started getting cold feet of like, I didn't want a caddy for every round, but we're doing 36 holes, like 4 days in a row walking. And year 1, some of my afternoon rounds, I really got gassed. So I was like, okay, I'm going to strategically do it. I requested the same caddy. I think that was mistake 1, because everyone else loves that, but it's almost like you kind of want to be in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, he's used up all his jokes. He's used up all the conversation topics.
Well, and they started texting probably, right?
Well, it was like Instagram stuff, just like following each other, nothing crazy. But I did like him. I did think he was, from what I observed, a really good caddy, and I still think he's a good caddy. But year 2, it was almost like we were friends, and the caddy services didn't seem as good. But then weird shit just started. I won't use the other person's name in the group who was the prime target of this investigation.
But a close person.
Someone close to us.
Not a first cousin, but
not a either
close friend of the pod.
Just somebody. And we'll be as general as possible. They'll know who it is. But we had happened to play 2 rounds early in the trip together, and I had a caddy for both of the rounds he played with. And for some reason, like, my caddy did not like him. I don't know what it was. I mean, he was kind of in his own space and he wasn't using a caddy. I think probably the worst thing he did, now that I say it, is he kept asking the caddy things. And like,
okay, wait, just to check the timeline. I wasn't part of the round with the rangefinder thing, right? And that happened before the big
scandal. The scandal. So let's break it down through 3 incidents. Incident 1 was our friend spent a round asking him for a lot of caddy input, and
which is a sneaky. Adam coined that move. Adam invented that.
All
move.
I told the guys, I said, I guarantee he doesn't care, but after the round, why don't you just give him a few bucks? Like like if it's a blind shot or if it's something just wildly crazy. And he's tending the stick. What?
We got JP here. Let's ask him about this one.
Okay. What's
this is important
protocol on that?
This could be a break. This could be like a turn the TikTok cameras on Bill Simmons moment,
Yeah.
So you're caddying for someone, but the other guy doesn't have a caddy, and he wants to ask some generic questions from time to time, and maybe with the idea that he's going to slip you $20-$40 or something after the round. Like, what are we ridiculous to think that's even an option? What do you think?
For just general advice for
just this, because you're with your guy and they don't have caddies, and now all of a sudden maybe he's literally like
the group caddy.
I don't know.
It turns you into like
if you're the one caddy when there's 4 other guys, only one guy has you, it's not like you can't not help out the other guys. It's like I'll clean the other guy's ball and stuff. If I'm physically next to them, I'll read a putt for them. It's like, shit. I don't know, you're kind of with the crew. It's almost awkward if you're just only with. It's like that's your main client for the day. But
shouldn't it be coming from you, like your generosity? What if they're just asking you advice on every hole?
If they're asking you advice on every hole, then I'm not expecting them to pay me, but it's like, well, maybe you should have brought out a caddy. Maybe throw something.
I think we were definitely getting to that, adjacent to that level of. I'm not going to say like it was like every shot, every hole, but
it wasn't. It was not every hole. No, I'm just screwed around.
It just went to where it was noticeable, and I just assumed like, hey, just give him a couple bucks after the round. That did not occur. Because
you confirm?
There's no way I could ever know.
But probably did.
But probably not. From what I know Adam didn't. I'll dox Adam. I know for a fact Adam didn't. I told him, like, you need to give him some money.
It's not expected, but maybe you can give that friend some shit of like, is your private play. You don't want a caddy next to you all the time, but you're still using a caddy. It's like,
I know.
It's just like, just get a caddy.
It's that, or just get the 4 caddy at that point. But okay, so that kind of, it was a weird vibe going on, and in that round, there was an incident with a ball that was found.
No. You have to back to the range. No. If you're going to tell it, the rangefinder.
No, that was before the rangefinder. No. That was before the rangefinder.
Oh, okay.
That happened at the beginning of that round. It was actually right after your chip thing, I think. But look, it is what it is. There's a ball. We're playing a 500-yard par 4 into the wind. A ball was hit straight. We have no idea where this ball went. I mean, it went dead straight, but there's a bunker, so you can't see. Yeah. And magically, there's a ball like 350 down there when we pipe drives, and we still had like 320 into the hole. So, you know, it was one of those things. And it had some, you know, potential interesting markings on the ball. So I think that led to, you know, this caddy, I think, is just a purist. So then it goes into the next time we play. Our friend, for some reason, just could not hold on to his rangefinder. Like it was 8 times in the round that he just kept dropping the rangefinder, walking. It kept falling out of his bag. I think like the zipper thing was broken on it. And my caddy kept getting the rangefinder. So finally, it was like the 15th hole it happened. And he goes, and he had it from the previous hole. And he said, I'm just going to hold on to it till this time. I'm not going to give it back. And I was laughing. I was like, oh, that's funny. But then like he's hitting a blind shot. He's running up the hill. He's like, I don't know where my rangefinder is. I dropped it. And then he's like, wants to go back to look for it. And the caddy's like, no, someone will pick it up for you, you know, da, da, da. So he rushes and hits his shot. And I look at the caddy. I'm like, well, you weren't really going to give him the rangefinder? He's like, I'm not giving him his rangefinder until this round's over. And I was like, this friend he's a very nice guy, but it's not somebody you want to fuck with. Let me just put it that way.
Okay.
And it was towards like right at the end of the round. He was like, oh, I found your rangefinder. And he's like, oh, where was it? He was like, I just had it. And he was like, what do you mean you had it? He's like, yeah, you dropped it for the 8th time on the 14th hole. So I just kept it for the rest of the round. And this caddy was deadpan, and I was like laughing and giggling. And I'll say this, to our friend's credit, he actually handled that really well. He was like, that's kind of fucking weird, but okay, thanks for my rangefinder. So let's stop there for a second on the storytelling. Any experiences with just pocketing people's stuff as a bit, as a joke? Any interjection into the group?
No, not permanently like that. I mean, it's an easy, you know, someone drops their club head cover or something, you pick it up. It's like, all right, that's a beer at the end of the round, you know. Let's just
something.
I don't know. I'm playing the middle part here. It's like I kind of am on the caddy. It's like if he's dropping it 8 times.
Yeah,
the caddy's the reason why he even has a rangefinder in the first place. If he's gonna drop an 8th time,
hell yeah.
Yeah,
Aaron,
like,
what's your counter, Aaron?
You've lost responsibility in this.
I agree. It's a good bit. It's a really good bit.
Yeah,
he could have not been completely dead. He could have been like,
it's just the worst person of our group at the bit.
No, and it's not even. I didn't realize that our guy had been challenged and like was going through something, and the caddy still kept it in his pocket. That's really taking the bit up, which I honestly respect on some level.
Yeah,
but like you're just digging your own grave at this point, and you're gonna have to deal with whatever consequence comes.
8 times is egregious. Like
that sounded like bullshit, but also
it's close. I mean, I don't think it's far off.
Could it have been 5 times?
I would say I would have extremely high confidence it was north of 5.
Because I've dropped my glove like a few times in a round and just been castrated for it, but like, you know, just you're the biggest loser on earth with like 3 drops.
Yeah.
8 is that's from another planet. That's interstellar stuff.
Yeah.
And there's one other tidbit, JP, you should know about this. So over the course of this, again, cool event these guys run, they do a Ryder Cup style. So you're doing matches throughout like every round you're playing, and it's pretty lighthearted, right? But our friend was on the other team, so these matches we were playing against each other, and I think, and again, I'm riding for my caddy here, he was much more invested in the outcome of these matches than I was, and I think that may have led to the piece de resistance event that happened in our final round. So again, we're at Bandon. We had some tough weather to start, but then we got some good weather that came in. We had some good times, but we were going to our last round at Pack Dunes. It was me, Aaron, Jewel, who's not with us tonight, who's a member of Please Let Us Golf, and then our other friend. Well, towards the end of the round, I think it was the 14th hole. It's this, I don't know if you're familiar with Pack Dunes at all, but you crest, so you're playing around you're playing along the ocean side, and you crest the sand dunes, and you play an elevated tee box it's one of the template greens, but it's a tough par 3 because the wind is just whipping in. It was like a 170 shot playing 215. It's just crazy. Massive 35-foot fall off on the left. If you miss the green, you can kind of go a little long right. So our guy pulls it left, and it's all hard pan down there, and then gorse bush. And if you know anything about gorse bush it's gone. Like, right, it's just thick. You don't even access it there. It's just a drop. So the ball, from our vantage, looks like it ricocheted off the hard pan. I'm talking like rock hard pan. It looked like it ricocheted, but it can be optical illusion. A couple of us are up on the green. You kind of see him down there. You kind of see the top of his head looking for a ball. Ethical guy, so I'm not accusing him of anything. But we all go. He says, "Y'all play up. Y'all hurry up. I don't want to hold you up." So we go play our putts, chips, whatever. And
nice
he goes,
guy,
nice great guy. And he said, "I found my ball." And we're like, "Really?" He's like, "Well, I got to pick it up to identify." And he pulls his ball like buried deep in the hard pan that looked like it had been there for, I don't know, a millennium. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, is that your ball?" He's like, it's a mojo, or sorry, it was a noodle. He's like, "It's a noodle." And I was playing a noodle, and I was like, all right. I was like, it's
case closed.
It's case closed. Sure. It's an embedded ball. My caddy was livid. He's like, that's not his fucking ball. And I was like, he claims that was the ball he was playing, and he is, and I'm not being mean. He's a frugal golfer. He's a shag bag golfer, right? What?
And I need to interject really quick. I want you to understand how important this moment was and how high the stakes were. There was nothing at stake. These are
we are in the middle over
of a bullshit tournament, but the matches, right? But the matches are over. We are friends and family. We are adults, like with kids and what. Like we're doing our thing. And you know what? If people have to have, I've had a moment over there. You just do it, and like whatever happens, we're just not all over each other like that. So yeah, our guys down there. I have no idea what's happening, by the way, and I'm just gonna fast forward 2 seconds to go. I'm about to putt, and I think I've got a 5-footer for par, and I'm literally about to pull the club back, and I hear like, what was it, Andrew?
Yeah. Well, you hear, if you say another fucking word, I'm gonna kill you. And so like
that got me to stop. That definitely got me to stop.
And and Aaron's like, what happened? Because Aaron was chipping from the back of the green, didn't see any of the ball, like trying to find the ball, and then the discourse of the caddy. And like before Aaron has that putt, my caddy's just seething. Like there's just, that's not his ball. We saw it bounce. It's hard pan. It's impossible for it to be embedded. I was like, dude, but our match is over. I was like, it's not a big deal. Like there's no way he can get up and down from there anyways. And he of course he hits one like towards the back of the green, and he's walking up, and he's smiling cheek to cheek. He's like, I can't believe I found that ball. My caddy was like seething, right? And he plays up, and he's about to tap in, and he was like, as he's about to putt, he goes to him, that's not your ball, right? Like, that. And I looked, because I was like, because this guy's like, the guy he said it to, again, it's like the last person on planet Earth you would want to be saying something like that to. And finally, he just snaps, and he picks up his ball. Aaron has no idea what's going on. His ball rolls up the chip, and he's a 5-footer. Aaron's like laughing. I can't believe this could be a great par, boys. And then all of a sudden, if you say another word, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And Aaron goes, well, I just happened to miss something. And then it just all hell broke loose. And again, we're on the 14th hole. We have 5 holes, 4 holes left to play.
Yeah.
And it did not end for the whole time walking down the fairway for the rest of the time. Like, don't fucking look at me. I'm gonna fucking, and it was just, I was like, dude, can we please just stop this? I lied. I mean, straight up. I said, hey, I don't think he wasn't accusing you of cheating. He was just saying he personally saw the ball bounce. So he thinks you misidentified the ball. He's like, yeah, that's good words, but that's not what he fucking said. And I was like, so I've been waiting for a moment I hope I did the story justice of could you ever see yourself in a, one of these resort type of things like that, where you would actually engage yourself, even if this one wasn't egregious, we didn't see a ball placed or anything like that. And again, I want to be clear, if he's listening, I'm not accusing of a ball being placed. But
it was
even if you saw it, would you? Because everyone was gaming noodles in 23, JP. Everyone was gaming them.
In a vacuum, no. If I am not a fan of this character, yes. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like if
No,
if
you'd be a
he's
fan of him. He's not the kind of guy who's like annoying everyone. You'd like
No.
him.
yeah,
He's a
yeah,
good,
it's
totally great guy. Like it
if
kind of
it's
was like,
if it's in
what
the
are you?
general area, it's like, yeah, whatever, sweet. I don't know. It's like it's especially with family, friends, it's like it's casual fun, golf, whatever. No, I don't care. And also it's not really my job to care. I'm the caddy out there. It's like we're having a fun time. This is
Yeah.
not, although it's Ryder Cup format, this is not the Ryder Cup. And read the
But the
room.
format was there.
Yeah, the format
It's
was
true.
there, but I don't know. Read the room a little bit. It's like if you're the guy that you're caddying for, or maybe not directly for, but one of the guys in the group is fuming at you, lay off the gas a little bit. Like just
Yeah.
let's get back to just having a fun time on the course.
Man, it was scary up there because like we're at this exposed part. I was like, somebody's gonna get literally murdered, thrown off with this sand dune right now. And I felt bad too, because again, this guy, he's in his at the point, he's like mid-20s and he seemed like a good dude, but he just slowly started doing this weird stuff over the course of the trip. And I do think it was what you said. Something about our friend rubbed him the wrong way. And I think it was taken completely out of context. But that made it, to Aaron's point, it made us hard when we're going on trips now because we are pretty like we care about our personal golf, but in terms of like people, like we're about as laid back and carefree as a group of golfers that are going to be at one of these places. But I was like, man, can we even introduce the risk now of like somebody just like, because we also like, I'm not above, like if I'm on a resort, like I don't care. I'll dox myself of saying like, yeah, if I got boned and I'm paying $500 for a round, and I move my ball a foot just to continue to play the hole as designed. Like, yeah, I'm not above doing that as long as it's not like materially changing the outcome of like that hole's bet or something like that. And I think we were in one of those kind of situations where like nothing was on the line at this point.
Yeah, you're playing pickup basketball and it's 11-1, and someone's toes on the line. They count it as a 3-pointer, 2-pointer, whatever.
Great
and
analogy.
It's like sure, yeah, all right, we'll give it to you. It's like we're about to win anyway.
Yeah,
and to bring it a little more full circle from what we were talking about before, that's the point. These guys they're course shepherds, and they need to act more like it. They're not. It wasn't Andrew's personal guy who's trying to get him to win the whole tournament and then get 10% of the fucking purse. It's like just calm down, read about it if you can.
Like the normal, like the run of the mill caddy that you're running into on these courses, it's like they're scrappy dudes.
That's true.
Their job is caddy. It's like you're coming from the perspective,
and JP, they're on drugs half the time, so anything goes.
Yeah, so it's like meet them where they're at too. It's like poke fun at them a little bit. You can also, you're the boss. It's like, hey, listen, man, I'm pretty good at golf. Like, I want you to have a good time out here. Chop it up a little bit with us. But I kind of know my club selection. I would love if you give me yardages. Just kind of walk, like you can kind of
set those expectations a little bit.
I don't need the whole thing.
And so I will say, even though we're saying it was low stakes, that banded sign behind me was earned for being low gross over the 24 players. Just a quick. So maybe the caddy got me there, and I didn't give him his proper cut though. I think I tipped pretty good. Even
10%.
You got 10% of what I paid for this trip. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But so I do have too on another caddy story. Maybe this one's actually more normal and more interesting when it's not as long form. I was at Pinehurst a couple years ago with Jewel, and it was double bag caddies. We were playing number 2, and there was like an old head caddy and a younger guy caddy. We had the younger guy caddy, nicest dude in the world, but was not ready to caddy for Jewel and I. I'll just put it that way. In terms of carrying the bag, and nice guy, and that's all I want to say. The old head caddy was a good caddy. He was probably the second best caddy that I've seen. Like legit, a little heavy on the stories. Every fucking inch of the fairway, he could tell you like everything that's ever happened on the Pinehurst property. But a solid caddy, confident. What he was telling them made sense. The outcomes of what they were doing made sense. But at the very beginning of the round, he picked up our bag. Like we asked our caddy, obviously before we took everything we could out of our bags. Do you want us changed out to carry bags or Sunday bags or whatever? And the caddy was like, no, these are fine. And it was like on like the 7th hole, he just went up and picked up our bags and he said he wouldn't tell you, but this is unacceptable. I was like, whoa. I was like, again, everything in this round was fine. And Jewel, he's like gentle Jewel. He's nice, but he's got a temper. And he was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I have Pinehurst number 2. Like, what is wrong with my bag? I asked him if the bag was okay. He's like, well, he wouldn't say anything because he's for a tip. He's like, we're like, we don't care. Like, we would have just changed out the bag. And we asked that guy. He's like, hey, is this
changing the bags.
I know
you
you
changing bags.
And so, but
you always forget something.
It was a little awkward, but we went on, and then we were on like the 15th hole, par 5, and Jewel had an approach kind of like right off of, Pinehurst has the sandy areas, not rough. And it was right where some of that native grass and pine straw line was kind of at. So he dug in the pine straw and he hit his ball, and he goes on, to go. And the caddy goes, the old head. And Jewel goes, did I do something wrong? The caddy goes, you fix your pine straw when you're out here. This isn't your home course. And he goes, I thought that's why I had a fucking caddy. And he just, so for the rest of the round, it was just like, and I'm sitting here again, like, why do I keep getting put in these awkward positions? And I'm over here advocating like, oh, we're normal guys, but now we're in all these things. So the cool thing at Pinehurst, selfish story, if you make a 2 on any of the par 3s, they give you a cool coin.
Right.
And their bar is called the Deuce. If you make a 2, you go into the bar and you get a coin. It was 17th hole, crazy hard pin. I flag a 6-iron hole high to like 12 feet. Me and the old head caddy had no issues. Like we were great all day. And he knew, like, I stopped using my caddy on the 5th hole for anything on and around the greens. And I mean, it's a right to left putt, and he was standing behind me, like as I'm reading it, like a caddy, almost would, over my shoulder. And I look back at him. And I'm like, God, I want this. He's like, you're playing good, son. And I was like, man, I know this is moving left, but I just can't tell. I was like, does this thing really dive at the hole, or is that just going to stay out? And he goes, I would consult with your caddy. And he walked away. And I power lift the fucking putt, and he looked very happy when I power lift that putt, man. So it was just like another one of these things where I was like, is it a us problem, or like what is going on? Like, we're just golfing, like no one's saying anything, no one's doing anything.
Well, what was that moment where he gets behind you like the caddy and then fucks with you right when you're? What's that about?
I don't know. And because I thought we were having a moment of like, oh, Jules the bad guy, I'm the good guy in this group. So he was like coming over to me. He's like, because I think he in some way wanted me to make it, but like wanted me to do it on my own. Because I think saw
anytime a cat is with you, they want you to play really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But man,
we get paid better if you play well.
Yeah, probably so. Well. But just again, are these normal things that we should be expecting out there, or is this just us problem?
It might be a you guys problem. It might, but it's also like you're running into like the biggest. It's like the whole like that is an old head caddy thing. They pick up the bag. It's like, oh, like good luck with that. Whereas like I don't care. I'm young. Yeah. I work out. It's like my actual caddying job is carrying a 50 pound staff bag all the time. So it's like, screw it. Whatever you have, sure, I'll carry it. But the normal, club caddy
bag,
that's the thing. It's like, oh, and then they have this bag. Well, it's like that's their talking point. So yeah, if you like going into, especially at these, nice courses, it's like if you have a somewhat heavy bag, know that your caddies are all going to be talking about you behind your back. Yeah,
sucks. But I mean, I guess too, like, don't be a doucher and have like a shit ton of stuff in your bag.
Yeah, like it's like I think you can meet them halfway. It's like it's like if you do have 12 balls in there and you guys are 4 handicaps, it's like, okay, have 4 balls in there, 5 balls, or like it's. Yeah, and I know it's annoying, but these caddies will get like, especially these old heads, they're gonna get like. Then those are the old heads you want. Like you guys having solid reads, all that. You don't want me as your caddy on the course. Like this is a huge distinction of the two. Like the club caddy, the guy that's been there forever and stuff, he's gonna know every inch of one single course, and he's also a pretty decent golfer himself maybe. And so he can, when you guys are thinking bump and run or, fly in the 60, or it's like all these different shot types, the better golfer is probably gonna be good. For me, I don't play. If I did, like, last time I was playing consistently, I think my handicap was a 14. And I was just having a conversation with not my guy, but another golfer, Miles Creighton. And he was saying, he's like, dude, your handicap is ideal for tour caddying because you're seeing all of the shots into the green, shots like from the course, you're seeing it with a view of our shots, not your own golf game. He's like, not some of the worst caddies, but he's like, our least favorite caddies are those ones where it's like they're actually pretty good at golf. They're the 3 handicaps, the 5s, the scratch. And when they're caddying for us, they're envisioning their shots into these greens, and that's just not what it is. I am never seeing. I'm never thinking, what would I do here? I'm thinking, like, when I am grading, I use Decade Golf. I don't know if you guys heard of Decade. It's like that's how I give lines into every single shot we have, approach into every green.
What is Decade Golf?
So Decade Golf. So, well, I guess just to finish that point, it's like when I'm thinking, like when I'm going around every green, a short-sided pin, I'm, imagining a chip shot. I'm not thinking what I'm going to do here. I'm imagining these guys use 60-degree wedges every single time around the green. Occasionally a 56 if there's, room underneath to kind of get a little bit running. It's like I'm envisioning their shot. Me, I'm going to be using the pitching wedge maybe, or like a 9 and just kind of getting it running. Like it is just like I'm a bump and run guy. None of these guys do that. So it's like, but that doesn't ever come to my head of like, oh, maybe we should do this. It's like I'm always envisioning what the pros are going to be doing in that scenario. I'm envisioning Tiger Woods PGA Tour. I want to stick this to 2 inches, not like 5 feet. So Decade that's like when I'm preparing a course, that's what I do. Day one is I walk the whole course and I'm going straight to the greens. And Decade is you're grading every single scenario. So if my phone is the green, you're grading every single scenario around the green based off a short-sided pin.
For the listening audience, JP is now holding a phone in the middle of the frame and circling it with his finger. We got to but keep going, JP. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You got to get tour level precision.
There you go. So if
ladies and gentlemen,
you're grading every area around the green to a short-sided scenario, difficulty so it's a -2 to a 3. A -2 means it's not even going to stay on the green or stay on the fringe. It's going to roll onto the green. It's basically just a big old slope. -1 is you can putt from that area. A 0 is if you're chipping, hey, maybe pull the pin. Like this one's going in. 1 is a standard. Like this is not a bad scenario. 2 is like it's short-sided and just behind the pin's tucked, and right after it's running away from you. It's like maybe you're up on a slope. It's like you're just screwed. It's a great shot if you're within 10 feet from this. And then a 3 is a hazard. So like if you're grading a 3, that's a hazard. Okay. So now all of a sudden I have numbers all around the green for a pin. So let's say the pin is front left in this scenario. So front left and Decade.
JP is now pointing to the front left of his phone for the listening audience.
So if the pin is front left and Decade meaning 10%. So if you're 100 yards away or if you're 200 yards away, a professional golfer's dispersion is 10% of whatever that yardage is. So when they're at a 200-yard shot, they're going to have 20 yards of dispersion. So 10 on either side of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So for a 100-yard shot, it's 90 to 110.
You
said 10%, right? For a 100-yard shot.
For a 100-yard shot, it's 10 yards of dispersion, so 5 yards on either side of the hole.
Oh, so it's 5 yards on either side. Got it. Okay.
Correct. So instead of saying we're going right at the flag, you're actually fixing their dispersion, because if you're going right at a flag, half their dispersion is going to be off the green. So you're fixing their dispersion so that even if they, because they're going to miss their shot statistically most of the times, they're not going to pure it every single time. The whole dispersion of that cone is going to be on the green. So on a 200-yard shot, let's say the pin on this front left scenario is 5 yards from the left side of the green. And I rated this area, the short-sided pin area, as a 2. So if we're 200 yards away, it's 20 yards dispersion, 10 yards on either side. So on a normal scenario, we're going to be 5 yards right of the pin for our dispersion. But because I rated this side as a, whatever I said, 2, we're going to add 2 more. So now our line is 7 yards right of the flag. Every single time. We're doing that on every single pin in. So like on that final, on 18, this past week, we were 134 away, and the pin was 4 from the left, front left. So we were we were 6 yards either dispersion either side. So our line was 2 to the right. That short-sided scenario I graded as a 0. It was fringe, kind of like a little thicker fringe, but easy chipping, or like a chipping that can very realistically happen. So going over like our discussion of the shot, I was like, all right, Decade has us 2 to the right, and wind was down and off the right. Davis was like, sweet, this is a perfect pitching wedge. We got it. He's like, dude, I'm going right at this pin. I let it breathe. I'm like, hey, I love it, but wind's off the right, and Decade has us already 2 to the right.
Wow.
I was like, I was like, I love the aggression, but can we at least go like inside of flag stick right? Let's move it right a little bit. He's like, all right, no, I hear you. Yeah, let's do that.
Damn.
Puts it like, lands 4 inches right of the cup. It was the right move, because in my head I was like, all right, and I told him, I was like, hey, I love that you're going after it. However, if this wind catches a hold of it, I just want us to be on the green putting. That left, you're fine. Like, you're completely fine there. I just don't want us putting from the fringe. I don't want you chipping. I want you putting for birdie. He's like, no, you're right. So we fixed it to inside of flag stick right of the flag. Still an aggressive line, not what Decade's telling us, but an aggressive version of it. And he puts it like, it lands 4 inches from the cup, goes to 3 feet. So, after he puts it in, he's like, man, we probably should have kept the normal line, right? Like tongue in cheek, like fucking with It's like, if we
I could have jarred it if I just took it right at the stick, man.
If we went on his line, maybe we're on the fringe, and at the 2-putt par. But it's like
for anyone that didn't see it, I know you said it. I mean, it landed literally, what did you say, like a foot or 2 right of the hole, dead hole high, and released out to 2 feet. So yeah, if he took that aggressive line, and you could be looking at the scenario you said, like putting from the fringe or something.
Exactly. So it's like that whole system, Decade, is huge for bogey avoidance, because it's like we're getting like greens and regulation is standard. It's like it is in this whole 10% dispersion. That's not player specific. That's Scott Fawcett. He went to Texas A&M. He's the guy who created Decade. He's taken data points from like billions of golf shots, like over the past 80 years of PGA Tour shot dispersion. So it's just factual. Like, this is how PGA Tour players miss. So every single approach shot in, that's what we're doing. We're doing that little math problem so that even our misses are going to be landing on the green. And if it's stuck, if we're 2 feet from the pin, that's kind of a miss. Like our pure shot is going to be landing 7 yards to the right in that scenario. We're going to be pin high 7 yards to the right. But a miss, like John Rahm talks about it a lot. Brooks Koepka, it's like they're a lot of times their best shots is like a slight pull. It's a slight push that just they set the right line and it gets them to the right spot.
How much do you think, like subconsciously, the great golfers though, like just something subconsciously is like, yeah, I'm going to take this line, but I'm just going to accidentally overcut it that extra 2 yards of that stick.
Yeah, I mean,
it seemed like the greats get away with it often.
Yeah, but you get a little bit of sense of that when you're on a heater yourself. Yeah, it's just like it's just a gravitational pull to the pin. It's just happening for you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's fun to like have that as a data point, saying, because to bring this back to the club caddying thing, it's still his decision. I want it to be his decision. I want him to be confident over the ball. I want him to see the shot and execute it the way he's feeling. But it's really nice to say, hey, data suggests we should be here. What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? do we want that line? Do you want to get a little bit more aggressive? And then he knows if he's being more aggressive, that's on him. He's like, all right, no, we're doing this. So then when we're over it, boom, let's go. Like now we are locked into this shot.
And there's a lot. It sounds like there's a lot of subjectivity around the green. But if you start getting used to a course, is it fair to say that your ratings end up being pretty consistent over time, unless there's some dramatic change to a hole? Like you get a pretty good sense of.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So like
that,
and that like if I rework. So if we don't make it the PGA Tour this year, we keep our Corn Ferry card, and we're working Nassau again next year. The work I'm putting into that course next year is minimal.
Yeah.
Like I did it all. It's like, I'm gonna walk over it again another time, theoretically next year, just kind of make sure, same scenario, or that nothing crazy has adjusted to that green. But yeah, it's and there's subjectivity to it, but it's also just like basic golf. If you're coming downhill and that green's run away from you, that's a really hard shot. Like it just right. If it's flat behind the or even sloping up, you're fine. You can get aggressive on it. So it's a simple enough grading system that it's not like he's looking at my book. It's like, you rated that at 0, like you rated that at 1. It's like, nah, yeah, it's like an easy chip when you see it. For these guys, not for us. Like for these guys that it's.
Well, right. That's it. I was just about to say the idea of having someone intelligent like you and interesting who's like doing that much work and helping you with your golf game sounds incredible, but like it's not practical. So obviously
because our dispersion isn't 10% though.
Right. Well, that's true. Well, that's a big point, right? It's like you can't do necessarily. Now, Goldie is going to argue. He thinks he can basically do everything he's trying to do with the club, but it's like, what's the point?
I just want to be clear on this whole 3-4 handicap discourse thing. That applies to some folks. It's
not him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's still. But the thing is, like it's just psychosis. I feel so bad at golf, no matter what I do.
And it's fun. It's like Decade gets a bad rap sometimes because Scott Fawcett, the guy who created it.
Yeah, I know a little bit. He's an interesting fellow.
He goes rogue on Twitter. Like he'll he'll have, so like that's why it gets a bad rap. However, when I'm walking, like I like, befriending the grizzled vets, the 20+ year vets that are, caddying for guys who just came back down from the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And picking their brains, and whether they use it or they don't, and I'll show it to them, explain it to them. They're like, yeah, I just do it in a different sense of it. They are grading it satisfactory, instead of -1, 2, 3, 4, it's like satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and hitting to the fat side of the green. Like
but when you fair to say you get a wedge in your hand, all this bullshit's out the door. We're taking aim at that pin though, right? At least from 100 in.
Well, because when you're 100 in and it's 5 on either side, it's like rarely are you not the number is so small.
That said, though, these courses get so fucking hard, and like you can't be above a hole, right? Or there's impossible. You risk 3-putting. So I mean, I hear you, man. Well, the margins are so small at that level.
And above and below is a different story. This is all kind of just like left and right mostly.
Okay.
Unless there's hazard short, then you're going to be fighting a little bit longer. But like, let's just say it's just zeros all around. Then we're looking at the slope of the green and saying, hey, this one slopes from back to front. Let's make sure we stay underneath the hole on this one. So we have an uphill putt coming. So it's like, we're aware of that. That's taken into account as well.
Okay.
Trying to leave an uphill putt on every single putt.
God, it's just another level. I mean, it's like it, but when you hear it articulated as well as you did, JP, it is amazing to think. Like I think through my own just like tournament experience on a state amateur level and things you even do in the club championships or the Wednesday men's group, and you're just like pulling a club and everything. Oh yeah, middle of the green, but then you just aim at every flag stick and then you just go golf.
That's what, like when I go back to Jupiter though, and I'm caddying at our course, it's like I still make like those guys that have been there for 10, 15 years and all the members love. Those guys are are better caddies at that course than I am. It's like it's just two different sports. Like club caddying for a guy that does it well and has done it over a long period of time, knows all the members. That's an awesome caddy, and he's doing that version of caddying so much better than I could do it.
Well, because
and
too,
if
like
that
let's
guy
say
comes out to the tour, it's a different thing. So it's like the guys who do club caddying and do it right and do it, properly, they're choosing to be, they don't want to travel. They're raising a family. Or they want to be in the same place. They're making consistent money that they know the income that they're going to be getting, it's that. Whereas
that's their rate. Even if they do a bad job, that's their rate.
Yeah.
I'm out on club caddies, but your career I'm fascinated with, and I'm hoping because I know it's getting late too. Oh, I don't want to cut you off.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, let's all just let's all just try to get a comment off real quick, and then
I don't have a comment. I had a question.
I do. It's like, there's good and bad caddies on tour. It's like a good club caddy, like a lot of them are private courses.
Who would you say is a bad caddy out there?
Yeah, right. Can you name a name specifically? No. Sorry, but Aaron, what were you getting ready to say?
Who
no, I just because it's starting to get late too, and I'm like, I want to hear. I'm really curious, and I mean, maybe we can do this again too, and hopefully we will.
Oh yeah,
because I know you have another. Aren't you leaving for another tournament now?
Like, I'm already at the next one, so we have a pro-am tomorrow at 11, so it'll be the course at 9, and then the tournament starts tomorrow or the next day, Sunday.
I know. I'm curious what that turnaround feels like for you, like how you prep for that, and just yeah.
When we're on the road, we work 7 days. It's like, it's you don't have the day off until you're off the road again. So for the Bahamas events, it's weird. They're Sunday through Wednesday, but normal tournament Thursday through Sunday. When the tournament ends Sunday, hopefully you got a flight that night, 9 p.m. That's like the money flight. It's like, boom, you finish the tournament. You're at the airport 9 p.m. You land at the next place at 11. You're at your Airbnb by midnight. You wake up. You're at the course the next day by 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Registering, getting your yardage book, walking the course the next day. Your player will play 9 holes that day. Get some work into the range. Tuesday, same thing. The other 9, get some work in at the range. Wednesday is the pro-am. And so, hopefully you're getting 27 holes in practice before the tournament starts on Thursday. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, repeat. So, there was a stretch last season that was 7 weeks in a row, then 1 week off, then 7 weeks in a row again. So 14 tournaments in 15 weeks. And
so that's your work. You get out there on that Monday, like you're fucking wandering around, I assume, while he's practicing a bit and just trying to take in as much as you can, or at least paying attention to different types of shots that could be happening on a hole. I don't know how.
Yeah. So so as long as your player's at the course, you're with them. So right. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for a caddy that's the heaviest workload days for a caddy. The tournament days are weirdly nice because it's like the cake's in the oven, the game plan's in. Now it's like just go execute. For a caddy, a Monday is, hopefully you get there before your player and you get to see you're going to walk the 9 that you're probably going to be playing with your player that day. So you can at least establish some line. You know the lines. You can hopefully have my decade numbers for that 9. Yeah. So then when the player shows up, you play with him that 9. You do he has his practice a little bit after. Then he leaves, and ideally I go walk the other 9. So that the next day when we play the other 9, I already have all my stuff ready. So then Tuesday comes around, we do that. Like today, Davis didn't show up because he's sick, but I walked again to then mark off which fairway bunkers and greenside bunkers are fine, which ones are dead. So it's like, now my book is, and if you guys want to see it now, or if it's another time, it's like the book is just like, it's dialed. Like, so, Davis has his book. But
we'll do another special that's just called Dialed.
Book.
Yeah, just dialed.
It's just called Dialed, and we're just gonna fucking put that book up here like this, and Aaron will narrate the whole thing. Now JP is going to page 3 of the book.
I'm very proud of my book. I love my book. But
you probably have good penmanship, don't you?
Good penmanship,
I could tell.
four colored pens, so it just everything kind of
wow.
makes sense. Oh yeah, it's very nice to look at. So like Davis, he'll when we're talking over stuff, he'll be looking at his book, but then right before the it's like locking in our game plan, he's like, all right, flip to your page. Okay, sweet. All right, yeah, let's talk about that. It's like he needs to see it in my book last, just because it's ready to rock.
Game plan.
So that by Wednesday Pro-Am day, let's enjoy the Pro-Am. Let's be social with these guys. Let's make good connections. Like last week, the chef at this course that we're at now was in our Pro-Am, and he was the man, so that for this week, he's like, hey, let me know, like whenever, you guys want to come eat, I'll take care of blah, blah. He gave it these our members only hats. So like, this has been like walking around, like everyone has like,
whatever the hell you want.
Oh yeah. It's nice. So it's like, but it's also huge for the player. Like that's how they get random sponsorships through their Pro-Ams. Like there's the connection. So it's like having the Pro-Am be a fun day is important. So that when Thursday comes around, you have like earned your silliness on the course. You've earned your like relax, like the game plan's in, the shots, the run outs of the fairways and all that. So it's like, that if a wind's showing a certain way, we need to be clubbing up, clubbing down off the tee, so that we appear to be, at least like, Davis and I, Walker and I last year, Austin and I last year, it's like, we have earned ourselves a fun time out there because we put in the work earlier in the week.
Fuck yeah.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is just execution. Go get loose and have some fun.
Man, this got deep. Like I could do this for 5 hours. I was making notes right now because we're definitely gonna run this back sometime. Do a check-in during the season. Hopefully, we get you as a frequent. I don't want to say guest, a friend, a lettuce head, just an OG lettuce head. We didn't even get into the story of how we crossed paths. Maybe we'll save that for part 2. Yeah, a little professional teaser. I got questions on bogey avoidance. I want to see the details of this book, but man, I do really appreciate it, JP. So schooled us a little bit on some inside baseball. I think that's interesting stuff, not from a tour caddy perspective. Getting into the data golf. So we go to the data golf Twitter. We can get all deep into that.
He's got me motivated, man. If I just do my work ahead of time, I can go to the course and just relax and have fun.
JP, I could do 3 hours on you of just talking bogey avoidance. I have so many questions.
It's kind of all I want. I've never felt more motivated to play.
Yeah, I'm going out there. I'm about to have shit weather this week too coming up. So, but no, seriously, man. Anytime you want to hop on, let us know. Hopefully, we can get you linked in more often. Hopefully, maybe as your travels, I know you do some. Kind of near me, maybe we'll pop in, say hey when you guys are in Savannah. I don't know if you got any PNW on the calendar. Maybe Aaron pop over there. But dude, awesome. Any closing comments, Mr. Golfberg?
No, that was just a lot of fun. Appreciate it. We could keep going, but let's. You're doing a great job closing us out.
Please let us end the pod. But
please let us end.
All right, let us end. As always,
this guy. You know what? I will say one more thing before. Wait, I'm going to say one more thing.
As always, say one more thing. Sorry. As always, never be able to end the pod.
Yeah, but I was, my favorite caddy before, Romeo from Tin Cup is one of my favorite caddies of all time. But JP's in the running, man. This guy's cool as hell. I'm really inspired by the story. So it's good to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you guys as well.
All right, man. As always, stay plugged. Comment, subscribe. See ya. Awesome, guys.
Yay. That was great.